Okay, we've got the vaccination of children. We're going to get to Dr. Maria Ryan about that. That's a whole new controversy with Tony Fauci about the kids are the key to herd immunity. Now he backed off his numbers, not 9%, now it's 70, 85% for herd immunity. But if you do the math, that means you're going to have involuntary vaccinations. If that's what it takes for herd immunity. And we're going to get some guys in here over the weekend on Saturday to actually do the math for our audience. Miriam Mendoza about the lawlessness that Biden's bringing to the border and about internal security and all this immigration and all of our immigration policies from the Angel Moms will be here. Richard Baris, the great pollster. We got a lot to go through, but we got to get back to yesterday. We had two trending situations out of the war room. Matt Gaetz resigning to go work for President Trump in his defense, and Posobiec beating up on AOC. And, why are you beating up on her? She's a populist. She's a localist.
Beating up. This was not a Poso beating. All right, I'll tell you right now. That's not what a Poso. This was me throwing the penalty flag because we had to fact check. Okay. We had to fact check because she was jumping the shark a little bit.
Get the audience up to speed.
She was jumping the shark a little bit.
What did she say?
She said she's telling this whole story that, the protesters are mobbing her. They're coming into her office. Newsweek even prints it up in this huge Instagram story that she's done. They're on every word, right, the edge of their seat. And I'm a huge AOC fan, by the way. People get me totally wrong on all this. I actually like her. I like where she comes from. I think she's a localist. I appreciate what she did for the people of her district in terms of Amazon.
Tell me about localism versus populism.
Right. The difference between localism and populism. Localism means it's kind of tied to NIMBY, but more in a positive way, not my backyard, right? It's the idea of I'm going to work for my constituents, not necessarily the GDP of my district, right? So I'm going to work for the people who live there. We're not going to gentrify them out. We're not going to push them out.
It's also the Catholic concept of subsidiarity, where you push things down to the absolute. You push it down. She's actually in practicality. She's a big proponent of subsidiarity, which we believe here, right? We don't like all of her policies. Right, but what I like is her fight and her style.
And she's not bought, by the way.
She's not bought.
She's not.
This is why she's got it. By the way, note to self: please, you want to get this past you, AOC? Announce tomorrow your primary Schumer, and it'll all be passed. But she did jump. Did she jump the shark on this?
She jumped the shark a little bit because then when it all came out, it turns out that she wasn't actually in the Capitol building. That she was in her office.
She wasn't in the dome. For people to understand, what you consider the Capitol building is the dome. That's what people see. Across the street, way far away, you've got offices. That's where Gaetz and all these guys actually have their offices. Leadership has got a few offices.
Her building across the street was not breached by rioters. And the person that was knocking at her door was a police officer, a Capitol police officer, who was bravely making sure that she was okay and escorting her to safety.
Raheem, did she lie?
If we're going by what constitutes a big lie, according to the media and the left now, then hers is a very big lie.
That is the standard. That is the new standard.
If that's the standard, it's a very big lie.
Did she get caught? You and AOC are the two of the best proponents of social media. One of the reasons you're at the forefront of the populist movement, a little bit like Trump, you've disintermediated the mainstream media by using social media. She's actually done it in a whole different level, and since civics is not taught anymore, she's been teaching civics. She cooks lasagna at night and gives a civics lesson on how committees work. And, they got 250, 300,000, 400,000 people watching. Did she jump the shark here, Matt Gaetz?
Part of the victimization culture that we've created, supercharged by social media, causes some people to always feel like they have to serve up like the next great thing that validates a sense of victimhood. I like Alex. We get along very well. We've done legislation together to democratize access to ecstasy and MDMA. So, I mean, we're out there on the extension of freedom. But she, in this case, there's just something that didn't add up, because the tunnels from the Capitol to the Cannon Building were never occupied by anybody who breached the Capitol. And there were no members of Congress that really had an interface with the people that came in, because we were out of there well in time. And so
when you first saw this, were you kind of shocked?
Yeah, I mean, I had some reporters text me and say, wait a second, that based on where her office is and where you guys were being held in the Ways and Means room and where the people were breaching the Capitol, that doesn't make logical sense. And obviously with some digging, that's turned out to be the case.
You mean people that are insiders that were there knew right away this something wrong with this thing?
Yeah, I mean, just if you work in the Capitol building, and especially if you were there that day, you knew that there was not this sense of immediacy with danger. But then you have to ask yourself, what was the incentive structure that caused Alex to go and make that video? And it's that in America today, like you get the most attention if you can highlight some grievance, some way in which like you were the victim.
I call it the
I actually
inverted
made
hierarchy
this
of victimhood.
with the assistance of the architect of the Capitol.
Wow.
I have actually put some.
You Bigfooted Posobiec's a little tiny thing.
Well,
You
this-
Bigfoot
this
that.
is
That was on my phone. That was on my phone. This is we got the
Yeah.
the
But you
engine
got
room.
all
Look at the
you
war
got- you
room,
got all-
engine room.
No,
here.
you got all the resources of One America, the best news network. Newsmax and One America battling for the leadership. For Real America's Voice and Raheem Hassan's podcast. We're stepping up here.
So this is a view from the war room side of the Capitol, and the war room is actually in this picture. We won't tell you where, but we're in this picture, and you can see where on the opposite side. So they weren't on this side. There were some, but most of the people that you
Coming
saw
up
in a
from
lot
the-
of the
from the mall.
imagery coming up from the mall, which is the top of this picture, down towards. This is where I've indicated where the rioters were, right? Not even talking about all the other peaceful protesters, but right there. And you can see how far away Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's office is in this image. Now, in real time, in walking time, it's a couple of minutes. But if you're in the complex, Matt, tell us, because you're in there. If you're in the complex and you've never been there before, how easy is it to find your way from the Capitol building itself with the rotunda to the tunnels and then over to the Cannon office building?
I have worked there for 4 years, and I get lost daily on that walk. Okay, my recurring nightmare is that they will just find my skeleton somewhere down there in the catacombs of the Capitol, where I've been lost and been unable
There's a few
to
members
recover.
down there. I think
right,
there's a few members
right.
in the
No,
sub-basement.
We
Yeah.
actually found Boehner down there
Yeah.
not too long ago. But I mean it just didn't make sense at the time, and you knew that there was going to be a more thoughtful review of this. And I just wish we could get to the point where it wasn't your grievance that got you that much attention.
Right.
Okay, I want to go. Let's bring in Matt Plumbo. Matt runs the Bongino report for the great Dan Bongino. I guess you're running it 120% now since Dan's tied up in the parlor situation. I'm seeing Dan's. I'm seeing his videos on the parlor situation. He's on the board over there and one of the big investors. So Matt, tell us about. And I want to get you guys think. What about these emails she's sending out? Because now she's in fight mode with you guys. Plumbo from Bongino Report. What is it about these emails that AOC is now taking? She's taking this fight up to the next level.
Well, yeah, I've noticed that she's trying to fundraise over Jack exposing her. Unfortunately, it probably will win. The thing about AOC is she is god-awful at policy, but she is a master manipulator and a master at social media. And there is a large percentage of her audience, probably 99%, that is just going to trust her narrative by default, even though it's been proven otherwise. Last night, I think, what was it? There was a hashtag last night. It was the AOC lied, and there was another one comparing her to Jussie Smollett, and her supporters were trying to hijack it so people couldn't see the message. So we're sort of in a post-truth era, and she's benefiting from it.
K-pop stuff.
So what were they doing to counter this, guys?
The email. Talk about the email, because that's stunning.
So there was an email that came out claiming that right-wing operatives with millions of followers on Twitter, I can't imagine who she's referring to there, were attempting to mislead people about the situation, and that Facebook and Twitter, that all of her followers should go to them and demand that they be taken down. All of those posts.
This is very significant because this is the new battlefront.
And this is it, right? We're told again, hey, these are private companies. Well, excuse me, you're a federal official, right, of the U.S. government going to a private company.
What do you mean it's the new
asking
battlefront?
them to take it down.
Okay.
When there is content that the Woketopians don't like, whether it's from people on the right or whether it's from journalists, the new way to try to cancel that content is going to be this brigading where it's against the terms of service of Twitter, but where they team up with all of their folks with followers. They get the Obama Bros, what's that Pod Save
America.
Yeah, they get that whole crowd kind of riled up on it. And
Second-rate podcast.
This is the new mechanism by which they're going to try to stop people from seeing whatever we have to say.
Yeah, not coming back on it and saying, all right, let me do another live stream and address what Jack Posobiec's saying. Say, actually, I did fear for my life because of all of these other things and whatever. But let's just have all of that information removed from social media.
And
Let's
I'm going to say it
mass
again.
report
Thank God
these
she's
people.
okay. Thank God.
Well, and by
Of
the
course.
way, people have irrational fears
right.
that cause
Sure.
real trauma, and we don't want that harm to come to people.
100%. 100%. 100%.
I want to
But
go.
that doesn't mean you can lie.
Right.
But I asked you the question, and did she lie or did she not?
Yes.
She lied.
Lied.
In what regard?
In the regard that
Pretty harsh term.
In the regard that, and listen, the lie may have come from her own trauma, right? She may have internalized a truth that simply
happens.
isn't. That happens, but she needs to.
In the
assess
objective
and-
world of right and wrong and rationale, they
is-
always say
she is
science-based,
not factually representing what
science-based,
happened.
evidence-based.
We are impeaching the president of the United States over these incidents,
Right.
So we can't play
Wow.
fast and loose with the facts,
Wow.
with the timeline. She's saying there were bombs all over the place, bombs in the tunnels, that people were tearing up and down the hallways. Look,
We got to
we have to
deconstruct
be
this.
very
actually.
Wait a second.
careful with
do,
this.
do you think then that the timing of that Instagram live she did is tied more to the timing of impeachment than to her trauma?
100%.
Because it was a lot later.
No, it came out. It came out at the same day the
Interesting
thing was
question,
dropped.
Matt. That's an interesting
I
question.
think. Okay, I want to go back. Plumbo, you guys are on fire. Bongino Report, you're the editor-in-chief. Dan is all over this Parler situation. We try to cram so much news in here. What do you guys look at as the big stories that people should be following that are signal, not noise, not chasing the everyday? When we look at Bongino Report, what are you guys focused on and what are you pushing?
So right now our top story is about the defense secretary ordering a 60-day stand down. The
Big story.
They're claiming they're trying to look for extremism within the ranks of the military, particularly white nationalists. And they're claiming January 6th was their wake-up call. Now, we obviously know this is just going to be a witch hunt. The purpose of this really isn't to root out people, it's to narrative build. They are going to be able to find a certain number of people who said the wrong thing on social media at some time and point to them and say, isn't this a sign of a larger problem? But that is the real motive behind it. And we even saw them try to screen National Guard troops to make sure they didn't vote for Trump when they've been guarding the Capitol.
This is a massive. This is a massive. This is a massive story. By the Pensacola, Florida. This is a massive story. What are you guys doing? How are you guys? Tell us. Let's just focus on that one. What are you guys at the Bongino Report doing to analyze this and to push it forward?
Right now, all we really can do is have it be our top story. I'll probably write about it later on. I just try to, anytime I see a key story like that, I just try to push it as much as I can and just stay on top of it for a number of days in a row and try to have at least, one top story on it so no one doesn't fall through the cracks and no one misses it.
We got to bounce, Matt. But one question I think everybody in the nation has for Dan is what is happening to Parler? It sounded like from Dan's video last night, there's a possibility that Parler can come back. I've heard from other people that Parler is gone. It's eviscerated. Not to give inside baseball, but to people, is there a hope through the efforts of Dan Bongino that Parler could actually return?
Yeah, every time I talk to Dan, it's just, we don't exactly know when, but there's never any doubt whatsoever that it's going to be coming back. My understanding is their issue with the CEO was more with his competency. And the thing is, when you go public as a company, you have to disclose every risk factor that could potentially spring up. So I looked at some the other day, and every single one that used Amazon Web Services listed that as a risk factor that they could lose their web hosting. So every company that uses Amazon Web Services is aware of that possibility. So the fact that he hadn't prepared for that possibility or hedged it in some way, it doesn't really look great.
This is the next round of
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the next round of American billionaires are those who can build resiliency to this cancel culture. I mean, who can vertically integrate so that your content is protected.
Matt, what's your social media coordinates so people can follow you during the day besides the Bongino Report?
Matt Plumbo 12 on Twitter. I'm sure Raheem will be kind enough to tweet that out. And then once Parler's back, I'll have the same handle there.
Thirsty for the tweet.
Thank you, Matt Palumbo. Bongino Report, the great Bongino. Anybody can bring back Parler. Dan Bongino's the guy who can do it. Okay. We'll have the Killer Elite back with Richard Baris in a second.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, we're going to bring in Richard Baris in a second, the People's Pundit, the greatest pollster out there. In one moment, a couple things, housekeeping I got to take care of. I realize we try to give the nation in the world, because this audience is so massive, the populist nationalist movement globally, in Lao Beijing in China, inside baseball. But every now and again, you realize when you're doing the show, you really are a jamoke, right? And you're still buying retail. In the last segment, the buried lead in today's show has been, we're saying AOC, and Posobiec and I are huge AOC fans. I know that kills the audience. Don't like her politics, but like the cut of her jib, as we say in the Navy. But Gaetz drops a couple times Alex.
She goes by Alex.
You just realize you're an
Not Sandy.
Stop. Okay, I want to come back to that in a second, this whole AOC thing. But I want to go to what the Bongino Report and Matt Plumbo, they're always on it. Go to the Bongino Report. You got Citizens Free Press. You got the Populist Press. You got Darren Beatty, the guys over the Revolver. You got so many great sites out there now, right? That are Canon 212 for the religious side, the live stream of spirits.org. I want to go to what he said about the stand down. My daughter, the West Point grad, we were talking about it last night. She's working on a story. This stand down's not a small thing. This is a big thing. And it's a big thing not just for optics. This started with the National Guard the other day, and DeSantis and Abbott had enough courage to say, hey, look, if you're going to ask us to send our guys up there, we screen them well enough down in Texas and Florida, okay? If they're okay for us, they're okay for you when they come up. We don't want any more of this. But you represent Pensacola, Florida, the greatest training of naval aviators. My kid brother was there. That's where he learned to be a Navy pilot. He went back. They bring the elite to be instructors. He was an instructor there. It is beloved in Navy Air and legendary in every armed force in the world to go to Pensacola. Are they going to do a 60-day stand down in Pensacola because of radical domestic terrorists? Is that what I'm hearing?
This stand down is an acceleration of the strategy we initially saw deployed during the Obama era to try to reshape the military to service the political left. This is a purging.
Well, they went through
this
the officer corps. They went through the officer corps then. Now they're going through the non-commissioned officers and the enlisted.
You got it, because I mean, look, they want the military on their side. I mean, that is pure power politics, and so they are finding people who express conservative views, populist views, and they are trying to purge them. And this is the reason. And they're going to use January 6th as a justification, and it is horrendous because so many of these patriotic Americans who sign up to wear the uniform, as you have a rich history of in your family, do believe what we believe. It's why they want to fight for our country. It's why they want to be part of the defense of our great nation. And they want to build a woke military.
What are you going to do about this? You represent Pensacola Naval Air Station and the naval base down there. What are the Republicans, and particularly the populists, going to do about this?
Look, I'm on the House Armed Services Committee, and I expect a lot of this agenda to flow through that committee legislatively, and we're going to have to team up with some patriotic Democrats who are a little bit in the middle, because we have no actual power here right now. But some of these folks who are patriots, who are Democrats, but who wore the uniform, who care about their brothers and sisters who wear the uniform as well, and we're going to need their help because the Woketopians are coming.
They eviscerated the senior officer corps in the military. This is why this guy got so many progressive left-wing generals, right? This is the problem. I don't want to say this is the reason we don't win a lot of these wars anymore. Just saying. Okay, I want to bring in Baris. Baris, to do this, you have to have political capital. The polling's been all over the map. That's why we had to get you in here. People want to listen to what you have to say. If Joe Biden is he's doing executive orders, but he's backed off the amnesty bill. We're going to have Marianne Mendoza on the bottom of the hour talk about what he's doing in executive orders, the radical nature of this. But if he's to push this legislation, and already he's got Manchin, he got Kristen Sinema kind of backing off, he needs political capital. That means approval ratings. Trump was at, I think, 56% at this time. Obama was at 67%, 68%. Where, in your mind, is Joe Biden, and does he have the political capital to push through a radical agenda right now?
We're going to have brand new today, and this is the third one we've done nationally since he was sworn into office. When we first polled him, Steve, he was at 47%. That was January 23rd. And then he did tick up a little bit above 50 at the end of the month, but he came back down. And I want to share this with you because today, this is what jumped out at me. He's probably going to end up around 48 or 49. But his approval with union members was 51% in the last poll. Now it's 41. And disapproval is 52. And the undecided bloated
Stop.
over 7%.
You're talking blue-collar, hardworking, populist union members. He's at 41%?
He's at 41, and that's a 10% decline in about 9 days.
Is it all Keystone, Richard? This is Matt Gaetz. Is it all Keystone Pipeline related?
Yeah, Matt, how are you? That's got to have something to do with it, I imagine. There's just been a lot of blowback to that, and in this election, we did see a lot of push by the leadership to get their membership in line. I was wondering whether or not that would hold when real policy decisions started to come down the pike. And I think that's what I think we're seeing that. This is a reaction. Has to be.
Go ahead, jump.
Yeah, my question would be, what would be some of the regions in the country, some of the maybe congressional districts where this swing would have its greatest political acuity? Are we talking about, the Midwest? Are we talking about some of these seats that the Democrats still hold in Texas? Where should we be looking to leverage
Virginia?
This change? Virginia's another one.
Yeah, there is. I really do think Abigail Spanberger in Virginia 7 probably should have went down. So a lot of these races, Wisconsin's, you have a district in southern Wisconsin, you have Michigan, 11th, 3rd. All of that was pretty much left on the table. Really, there weren't big pushes. When people believe media polls and not actual voting results, they make decisions on where to allocate resources. And there were some pretty bad decisions. There's no nice way to slice it. This is big in the Midwest. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to where people tell us they are union members, it is disproportionately in the Midwest. So,
it's blue states, right? I mean, in Florida, we're right to work.
Yeah, they're blue states. Yeah, they're blue states. And also Minnesota, too, is another one. But I'm wondering if this will hold, because I can't help but to think some of the dip among working men that the president saw, there were more of them in the electorate, but he didn't win them by as big of a margin as he did in 2016. I've been wondering whether or not that would be temporary. And if this keeps up, that means it's probably going to be temporary.
Okay, let me ask you. Your range for Biden right now in his approval rating is 47 to 49%, okay? We're
52.
seeing other polls that have him
52.
Okay, we have 52. We have other polls that show him at around 54.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
Richard,
Right.
can I ask, what do you think about all of these polls that we're seeing out of YouGov lately? It seems like we're inundated with YouGov polls. Every 5 minutes I see a new one.
Yeah, YouGov is something a little funny, Jack. I mean, it really does matter how you compensate these people to take surveys. If you give somebody $2 or $3 to take a survey to earn towards a Kohl's gift card, the only thing you're going to get is a bunch of girls who, college-age girls maybe. I mean, it's just a very good typical example, who are trying to earn money to, $30 gift card to buy a new bra at Kohl's, but they have no intention of actually voting. That happened to YouGov in 2016. Their panel is not good. I've been a critic of them. You have to verify whether or not these people are who they say they are. Your lists have to be deduped against actual voter files. That is a consumer poll. And YouGov basically gathers all of this data and then sells it out to different people. That's what YouGov does. They're not actually polling it themselves. That's why you can see The Economist with a very different result than the CBS tracker poll, which is also sourced by YouGov. Either way, they're both consumer poll, really. And there's no difference between a consumer panel and YouGov.
I think they should be able to buy that bra and still have money left on the $30 gift card at Kohl's.
So this is why you've got to have a show.
No, Kohl's is good. I got Kohl's.
Here's the question, though. He's now trying to do the COVID bill, right, do this technicality that just needs a majority vote. The amnesty bill is now dead, and they're trying to break it up, and he's trying to use executive orders.
Oh, that'll all be done through executive action.
Executive action. But my point is that you can't. He knows he doesn't have the stroke to push this through. Where does he actually stand in your mind right now? How much political capital, as you look out there, Richard Baris, does Joe Biden have?
Yeah, I think not much, and here's why. Some of this has to do, too, with some disappointing comments and events that surround the coronavirus. So people who did vote for Joe Biden in good faith, all right, and may have supported the president otherwise, did so because they believe that he could do a better job handling the coronavirus. And there's no progress there. And the president himself has basically said, there's not much we can do. It's going to be a bad winter, and that's it. He set a goal for the vaccinations that you don't have to be smart. I mean, that was Trump's goal. He basically already hit it. So I think there is certain voters out there that are disappointed that there isn't this massive mobilization that they were promised, and they're just not seeing anything. So that earned him some credibility. I think it was unwarranted to begin with, but now when he's actually in a position where he can govern,
you don't think they got the baseball stadium out west? You don't think they've now basically announced they're federalizing this, right? They're taking more away from the states to push the vaccines. We're going to get into that later in the show, but you don't think people are starting to see that he understands he's got to take more action? I think he's trying to up the game on vaccines of a couple of 100 million. by summer, and we're going to talk. Fauci's telling you got to vaccinate the kids. Do you think that'll change his numbers around, or you think right now he's lost the political capital he had from his inauguration, and he's going to be guys in the high 40s, low 50s?
Yeah, I don't know that that'll have much of an effect. We ask open answers, and one of them that jumped out at me was a woman in Lansing, and she basically said, "Why all this now? You were preparing to take over the White House for a month or 2 months. Why are you now shifting your plans? I thought maybe when I voted for him that he already had one. So I don't. If people think like that, Steve, he's going to slip."
Baris, how do people get to you? We got to bounce. Got about 15 seconds. How do people get to contact with you during the day?
Yeah, on Twitter at peoples_pundit, and they can find me on Locals too. peoplespundit.locals.com.
You're the best, Richard. Thank you very much for joining us here in the War Room. Okay, short commercial.
All the
By the way,
best.
do you buy that polling? Do you buy that polling that
Yeah.
Biden's in the high 40s?
Yeah.
No political capital, really?
No ability to legislate.
Got to do it by executive order?
All of it.
Okay, Marianne Mendoza is going to be here talking about that. The Angel Mom. We'll be back in a second.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
So, Raheem, is Alex fighting back? Is Alex fighting back?
Well, that appears to be the case. I mean, she's now become obsessed with this. And that kind of is a massive tell in and of itself.
She knows she's got a problem here.
She's got a problem. She's putting out emails. She's endlessly tweeting back at people. She tweeted in response to Jack Posobiec yesterday, got ratioed on that tweet. She's now in a back and forth with Nancy Mace over this, because Nancy Mace is in the same corridor, I believe, as Alex is, and is disputing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's sequence of events here. I'm actually going through and putting together a kind of a long-form look at all of this with the timeline, my original timeline, which shows, you know, when the president was speaking versus when they evacuated Cannon office building and so on and so forth. And I got to tell you, as I go through this, actually it's getting worse for AOC, because now I'm reading about...
That's why she's firing back. She knows what's to come.
She knows what's coming. Because now I wouldn't be surprised if she deletes her Instagram video on this, by the way, because she admitted in that video that after she was in her office and panicked and looking through the door hinges and all of this, she then goes down the hallway, finds her colleague Katie Porter's office, goes in there, they have a cup of coffee together. Coffee. She talks about having a cup of coffee together.
Tea time with the Queen.
Right. So this is just not working out for her.
Look, why does it hurt? Why does this one hurt so bad? My theory is that it exposes a lack of sincerity. Because the reason we all kind of like AOC is because she's got game, and because she is who she is.
She's the bartender that kind of took on the establishment.
And that's why those little civics cooking shows kind of work. And this is
Very
just
sincere.
so abjectly insincere that it cuts against her in a pretty short
Well,
way.
this plays into the thing that people might think blows up. She's an actress. Yesterday, she's an actress, total phony.
What I think it also plays into is a greater epistemological question. Whoa, we're going there. $12 words. That this is: do we
just looked that one
believe
up.
in absolute truth or subjective truth? Right, the truth versus my truth. And that you hear this again and again with the Woketopians. Well, my truth is that there were people out there, and my fear and my emotions, right? It's all about her. It's all about the emotions, the inverted hierarchy of victimhood. But when you actually go and look at the cold, hard facts, it doesn't line up.
That is about the 77 days. This gets at what they're impeaching the president about.
Epistemological.
This topic, and this is why Matt Gaetz, with Peter Navarro's report and Cortez and Matt Brainerd and Phil Klein, all these guys have done the analytics. Somebody has got to be the firebrand in there next week to get to the absolute truth.
The senators on the Republican side are wringing their hands, saying, "Whatever you do, don't say anything about election fraud."
I know it's the forbidden word.
That's why they want a reality czar, right? The New York Times is out there calling, we need a reality czar. We need Biden to come out, because these are all epistemological. That's what that's talking about, the discussion of what is reality.
The Secretary of Keeping It Real.
Yeah.
Minister of Truth.
Well, it's the Ministry of Truth.
Ministry of
It's
Truth.
the
Driving
Ministry
with
of
Biden.
Truth.
Yeah.
Look,
You have wrong think.
You had 10,000 words in the New York Times. 9,000 was opinion. 1,000 was bylines. Right?
Yes.
That's the way. That's not. But when it comes to, the truth versus my truth thing, I don't think that necessarily goes right to it, because there are a lot of people who are sympathetic to her, who are now coming out against her, who do believe in personal
they can't,
truths.
They can't. It's too over the top. They can't defend it.
No. What it is that there is unity in this country around condemnation of breaking into the Capitol building. There is unity on that subject, and everybody felt a sense of purpose that they could come together and condemn that. And now you have somebody who's breaking the reality of unity on that subject. And that's, AOC is actually doing more harm to the unity that people experience in roundly condemning those people.
She's taking that unity and she's personalizing it, but now
For advantage.
exploiting it for personal political advantage, for fundraising, and trying to ban her political opponents.
I want to talk about truth versus spin. I want to bring in Marianne Mendoza, one of the great angel moms. Talk to us, Marianne. All day we've been talking at polling about Biden and what Biden's really doing with these executive orders, things that he can't pass. He can't bring the country together to pass bills, particularly on this amnesty situation. He puts out a radical bill, gets blown up. Now he's going to do it by executive order. But on enforcement, the bill had nothing to do with enforcement. But on the border, all the great work that President Trump did. And you could see how the Hispanic working class community in the Rio Grande Valley responded to that with this overwhelming support for Trump in 2020 among blue-collar Hispanics who want border security and also want better opportunities, higher wages, lower unemployment, so they don't have to compete against illegal alien labor. Marianne, you're one of the leaders of this movement, the Angel Moms. What's going on the border?
Well, in McAllen, Texas, just recently, many illegals were suddenly being dropped off at bus stations, and people started getting a little concerned about what was going on. These people were being bused and transported into the interior of the United States without COVID testing. And so the Biden administration has now directed DHS to go ahead and start transporting these people who they are apprehending down in the Rio Grande Valley and in the McAllen area. On Wednesday, a state senator, Juan Hinojosa, said that the city of McAllen had sounded the alarm because of all these people being transported to the interior of the United States without being COVID tested. They sent 10,000 COVID tests down there, and they are being paroled to temporarily live in the interior of the United States. This isn't reported on mainstream media. If they test positive, they are being sent to nearby hotels to quarantine before they're getting on public transportation now. And who's footing the bill? The American taxpayer, unbeknown to them. The Border Patrol in the Rio Grande Valley were apprehending 800 illegals daily last week. That's 5,600 in 1 week. That's not at our ports of entry. That's over our unsecured borders. The unsecured borders.
That's nothing, Marianne.
That Biden administration.
This is Matt Gaetz, Marianne.
Yeah.
It's good to connect with you again. This is Matt Gaetz. My expectation is that you'll see those numbers increase tenfold. I mean, they're taking the money.
Tenfold.
Oh yeah, they're taking the money that we allocated for the wall and they're repurposing it for these welcome centers. And what Marianne is right about is that the United States federal government has become the biggest human trafficker in the world, because we take these people out of their trafficking portals that have been developed by cartels, and then we go re-deliver those people right back into the arms of the cartels by bussing them around, flying them around, and in the meantime, they carry the virus with them.
Hold on. This is what I don't understand.
Well,
so I want to hit hang on. I want to hit reset for a second with you, Marianne. Joe Biden, who staked his, Baris just tells he staked his entire presidency. In fact, Tony Fabrizio just leaked the 30-page analysis from the Trump campaign from Fabrizio that says, hey, you won 6-1 on the economy, but you lost this about your trustworthiness in handling the pandemic. Biden staked his entire presidency the first 100 days on both the COVID relief bill, but more importantly, getting his hands on the vaccine distribution and this. Are you telling me, and you're telling the nation that's unreported, that down in the Rio Grande Valley in the great town of McAllen, that people are coming up and are not really being tested and being shipped in by the Biden administration to the interior of the country? Can you back that up?
Reporting from the border report, I've got all the backing up on this information.
And so tell us what's going on again. I want to hear it one more time.
The citizens there in McAllen were getting really concerned because all of these illegals were being dropped off at the bus stations and being transported to the interior of the United States. And so just recently, a state senator kind of brought this information forward. And so they sent 10,000 COVID tests there to McAllen to start testing these illegals before putting them on public transportation. And if they test positive, they're being quarantined in local hotels. Otherwise, if they don't test positive, they are being put into the interior of the United States. But how long this was going on without them being tested, that's the big question. And that's where the Biden administration needs to answer.
What the first
The
round
other thing that I want to talk about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You know, they talk about these children being separated, and there's 545 migrant children that are still separated. And Biden's talking about putting a committee together to get these children reunified with their parents. 485 of those 545 parents have been located in their home countries. They do not want their children back because the Biden administration gave them hope of open borders, amnesty, and a path to citizenship on the horizon. And these shady attorneys here in the United States who deal with these illegal, giving them hope and further raping them of the money that they make, they are now creating this task force to reunite these families. And guess what the solution's going to be? Guarantee, I mark my words, it's going to be to bring those parents from those foreign countries to reunite with their children here in the United States. And so this is going to be the pattern of the Biden administration, and it's not America First anymore. And this is what I am so upset about, because I know I'm going to be having more angel families join our organization. And I speak up because I don't want any more members of our organization. We need to stop this insanity.
Marianne, I want to thank you for joining us. We're going to come back next week and have a deeper dive on all the executive orders he's doing to really just eviscerate enforcement in this country. Marianne, how do people get to you? What are your social media coordinates? What's the website? Want to get people back engaged and thinking about the angel moms and all the – there was so much great work done during the Trump administration. You guys at the forefront of that. You were one of the great allies of President Trump. Want to just make sure we understand how to reach you.
Permanently suspended on Twitter, my angel families, my angel moms, and my personal account. You can find me on Facebook, Marianne Mendoza. There is an Angel Families Facebook page that I continually put all the crimes that are being committed. And our website is www.angelfamilies.org. And
where can people get to all the crimes that are being committed? Give the site that they can go to access that.
It's the Angel Families United Facebook page.
Marianne Mendoza, a patriot and a hero. Thank you very much for joining us in the War Room.
Thanks, Steve.
This is with the girls' sports, with the radical nature of what he's doing on the border. These are natural lines of how you stop this radical Biden agenda, Mr. Gaetz.
Remember, we made our progress on immigration through the executive order, so we should not be surprised that progress is being undone by the very same tool. Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans would not fight to ensconce these changes to asylum laws in actual law. So President Trump
Why
did
would
what he
they
had
not
to
do it? Why it was a centerpiece?
Oh, you know why?
But
You know why? Because corporate America wants illegal immigration. These same corporate PACs that are canceling Republicans want to drive down wages. They want to invite everyone across our border illegally because it helps their quarterly earnings and their bonuses and their dividends payout, but it hurts the working people of this country.
Is this one of the reasons you never took corporate PAC money?
I swore off corporate PAC money after realizing that it truly was the most despicable thing when you see people sell out their beliefs and sell out their country, for a few $1,000s at a time. And it happens every day in this town. I'm the only Republican in Congress that doesn't take PAC money of any kind, ideological PAC money, corporate PAC money, leadership PAC money, and I wish others would join me.
I want to get back to one other thing. My good friend Jeff Quatnes was just on MSNBC with Stephanie Ruhle talking about he's one of the guys at the forefront of doing a lawsuit to protect the Reddit guys, a class action suit against all the stuff that came against them. He's also one of the big believers in ecstasy as a solution for PTSD. He's worked with Harvard guys. I know you support that, and AOC supports it. Tell us about that, because I'm an anti-drug guy, but Quatnes has convinced
medicine, Steve.
He's convinced me that
Not
for
drugs.
PTSD, this is what it is. What are you guys working on?
I have veterans in my district who are able to go to sleep, who are able to have a relationship with their family, who are able to work and have normal lives because they microdose certain types of MDMA ecstasy, psilocybin. I don't believe research should be illegal in this country. I want to get more answers and more cures, not fewer. That's why AOC and I have legislation to allow our country to do that research, to work with veterans, and hopefully help some of our greatest and bravest patriots live better lives.
Okay, we're going to turn a second talking about research, talking about medicine, and we're talking about vaccines and our favorite guy, Dr. Tony Fauci. Maria Ryan. Dr. Maria Ryan will join us right after the break.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Mike McCormick, who's known Biden for, I think, 9 or 10 years, has got the book Biden Unauthorized. He thinks he's got the mental capacity now of about 50%. He's affected by the sundowner effect, which many, many older people are. That's why Raheem Kassam, is it 2:30 this afternoon? He's going to be at the State Department before sundowner hits him?
2:45.
2:45. Get that. What speech is he given?
So today, Joe Biden will lay out what Jen Psaki called his first love in her press conference the other day. That is foreign policy. I thought that was a pretty telling line from Psaki, especially given the way she answered the question about him being a Catholic yesterday.
Well, especially given his foreign policy over the last
He's been on the wrong side of every decision in 40, 50 years. I digress.
So here's what we expect today. There will be lots of talk about multilateralism, lots of which is, of course, globalism. Lots of talk about entering the United States back into these sort of European, NATO, multilateral institutions, Paris climate change, so on and so forth. And I also expect to hear some saber rattling over Russia. This is going to be his attempt to switch back from China, from the foreign policy focus of China under the Trump administration to the tackling Russia, which, remember, has the economy the size of the state of New York, an economy the size of Italy.
Demographic death spiral.
And this is what Biden is going to be focusing on.
Matt Gaetz.
If foreign policy is Joe Biden's first love, let's hope for the sake of the world he gets a mistress. You know, the play for Biden is going to be to try to threat construct around Russia as much as possible to justify a massive infusion of U.S. cash into these NATO countries. Before you go give like Macedonia $50 million for their NATO, approval plan, you've got to threat construct around Belarus, around Russia. And what that does is it does take our eye off the ball as it relates to China. The Yemen piece today is going to be all a setup to get the U.S. back in the Iran nuke deal, which of course is a catastrophe.
Posobiec, China. It should be CCP all the time. We confront them. We finally got their attention. Unrestricted warfare, economic information warfare, battle group South China Sea, flights over Taiwan. Why is he not taking on China?
Look, we talked about the stand down when it comes to extremism in the ranks. You're going to see a stand down in the Indo-Pacific from U.S. forces. And when I say U.S. forces, I don't mean only military. I'm talking about that unrestricted warfare, the way that Navarro and Trump were unleashing economic warfare, information warfare. They were fighting the CCP's lies. They were debunking them in real time. They were going after them on all fronts.
The big Atlantic Council piece, the new long telegram, never mentions information economic warfare. It's diplomacy and gunboat diplomacy.
It's all gunboat diplomacy. It's like the 18th century.
On the border of Tibet, they got troops up there. They're funding money into Pakistan on One Belt, One Road, and now they're in Burma. They're circling the anchor to the Indo-Pacific would be India. Okay, we got to wake up. We're going to be all over the Biden. This is the feckless Jake Sullivan and the feckless Tony. His Blinken, his Secretary of State, and of course the feckless Joe Biden, been on the wrong side of every public policy, foreign policy decision. I got to go now to Dr. Maria Ryan, CEO of the Cottage Hospital up in New Hampshire. Tony Fauci, part of his multilateralism is the kowtow to the WHO. Tony Fauci said the other day, the key to herd immunity is going to be the vaccination of the children. You see this coming, that they're saying now it's 70 to 85%, or Tony Fauci's actually saying on some interviews 90%. That means that you're going to have involuntary vaccinations. That's the way the math works if you're going to get to herd immunity. Dr. Ryan, with children, in this thing about they're the key to herd immunity, walk our audience through. We've got about 4 minutes. Walk our audience through. What does that mean? How are they to interpret that?
Good morning. Herd immunity or community immunity is when a large portion of the population are immune to a specific disease. We have to look at what's called the reproduction number, And it's theorized that for every one person with COVID, they infect 2 to 3 people. So that means we have to have 50 to 67% of the population who has immunity. How do you get it? 2 ways. Natural immunity, you get the disease and hopefully have long-term immunity, or at least partial long-term immunity, or through a vaccine. We are certainly not ready to vaccinate our children. There's been very little studies under 12 years of age, and we can't even go there. Number one.
Hold it, full stop. Hold it, full stop, full stop, full stop. They say in his report, the 300-page report, they got to do more research on adolescents. Don't even mention children. The ink's not even dry on that thing. That's a report last week. Why is Tony Fauci out there running up the flagpole, because this is what they do, saying the key to herd immunity is the vaccination of children? Why is he doing that, Dr. Ryan?
You know, I cannot guess why he's doing that. I get a little nervous. You know, the Biden administration, science, 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 we got to listen to the scientists. Well, I have several degrees in science, and science is a bunch of theories, right? This is a novel virus. We're not even sure how many kids have been affected and they were asymptomatic, so therefore they have immunity. So they may not be the key, because we've known that it spreads very quickly, because none of us have natural immunity to it because it's a novel virus. So pinning it, saying that the children are the key, I don't really get it. I think our immunization should be geared towards those 65 and above, those with 2 comorbidities who want the vaccine. It has to be voluntary. And then we go from there. We need to do what's called longitudinal studies. So we take a person, regardless of their age, and we look at their immunity through time. These take a long time. You know, 5 years out, 10 years out, do we still have immunity?
Doctor, we got about a minute. Hang on. I just need to focus on one thing. What type of research needs to be done before you start vaccinating children, in your opinion?
Oh my God, there's so much studies that have to be done with it. You mentioned that we haven't even really done a lot of research on adolescents. Moderna can't get anybody under 12 to do any kind of research on. So this would be years out, if ever, because this is a much longer process when you're talking about vaccinating.
But this isn't about school or science, or it's about politics. It's about the fact that Biden's got a problem with the soccer moms who want to put their kids back in school, and so they're ignoring the science because they know they have a political liability.
Dr. Ryan, we got to bounce.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have you back on hopefully tomorrow. Hey,
okay.
Just give us your coordinates right now, so people can follow you on social media. We're going to have you back on either tonight or tomorrow morning. We got to get more. We got to drill down on this thing with the kids. What's your social media handle?
Maria Ryan NH for the great state of New Hampshire. DrMariaRyan.com.
We'll have you back on. Raheem, you got the podcast today, one of the hottest podcasts in the country.
Jack and I will be going through this AOC stuff in excruciating detail.
Okay, we have
breaking news. AOC is now referring to herself as a combat veteran.
Wow. Okay, we're going to go to we're going to be back at 5 o'clock tonight. I think Matthew Taylor joins us tonight, 5 o'clock in the War Room.